Hello, I'm Victoria Ballou-Schaefer, and we are talking to Joni Patry. And the topic of today's video is the very tragic death of fashion designer Loren Scott, and who also happened to be the girlfriend of rock legend Mick Jagger. Her death was untimely. It appears that it was at her own hand, and we have asked Joni to check the chart of Loren Scott as well as that of Mick Jagger, who the history of his life has proved to show women who are distraught and move to things like suicide, unfortunately, or attempting suicide. So we're looking to Joni to give us some answers about Loren Scott's chart as well as what she sees in the birth chart of Mick Jagger. Hello, Joni. How are you?
Hi, Victoria. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, first of all, we don't have a birth time for Loren Scott. So what we do when we don't have a time of birth is we take the moon, and fortunately the moon was in the same sign the entire day of her birth, and we make the moon the ascendant. But let me go over the birth data that I'm using for Loren Scott. I have her born April 28th, 1964 in Roy, Utah in the USA. I just put the time at 12 noon just to get an idea of the whole day and where the planets are located. But the moon at 12 was around 7 degrees of Scorpio, so that means the moon would be in the same sign the entire day. So we make this a Scorpio ascendant. And you see, the moon is how we feel about things. So, of course, to take one's life, you have to be in extreme pain and suffering. And the moon chart, which we call this Chandra Lagna, would be the most significant chart really to look at in this case. So looking at this from a Scorpio ascendant, she has got Jupiter, Mercury, and her sun in Aries, which go to the 6th house from the moon. The 6th house deals with struggles. It deals with problems a lot of times, but of course it's hard work, and people with a strong 6th house are very health-oriented, which is surprising that she would take her own life. Her Mars is at 29 degrees of Pisces, and her Venus is at 29 degrees of Taurus. These two planets being at 29 degrees are very significant because you see this is the very last degree of a sign, and it's significant. We look at these as anaretic degrees right before a change. They're very, very important. And the most important aspect that was going on at her time of birth was the fact that transiting Saturn was 29 degrees in the sky currently of Libra. So what is being formed at this point in time is what we call in Western astrology a yod. A yod is called the finger of God. And in Vedic astrology, you can just look at it in terms of the spatial placements of her Venus and her Mars in relationship to the transiting Saturn. And what that means is that Mars goes to the 6th place from where transiting Saturn is, and Venus goes to the 8th place from where transiting Saturn is. 6, 8 are the most difficult houses, the 6th house and the 8th house, and this is reflective in this aspect. The 8th house meaning death, and the 6th house meaning difficulty and problems and worries. So together, this position of these two planets where Saturn came into a yod position with those is the reason why this event happened the way it did. Even though we're not quite sure about her birth time, we know that this transiting Saturn would be in the 12th house from her natal moon, which means the 12th house is endings, loss, separation, and she felt very, very alone. And ultimately, you want to consider that with the transiting planets, we have Mars, Saturn, and Rahu all together in Libra, which means it's in her 12th house from the moon, which makes it very difficult. And I'd mentioned before, most people that have a Scorpio ascendant are going through a very difficult time because most of the planets are in the most difficult houses, even transiting Jupiter, which can give hope, is in the 8th house transiting right now for those that have Scorpio as their ascendant. So with that, I think that's really potent, and the reason why this has occurred at this time, which is so sad because, you know, if people could just only wait till the transits change, things get better. But sometimes in these very dark places, in the dark night of the soul, you don't look forward to these times when things will get better, which when Jupiter changed next summer, things would be so much better for her. But sometimes you just feel like the darkness is so bleak and dark that you can't see beyond where the times would improve and get better. So with that, I want to take a quick glance at Mick Jagger's chart because this has got to be devastating for him. He was with her for many, many years, and they loved each other. So Mick Jagger, let me go over his birth time quickly. He was born July 26, 1943 at 2:30 a.m. in Dartford, England. And the thing that stands out most prominently in his chart is the fact that this Mars, Rahu, and Saturn transiting Libra are in his 6th house, because for Mick Jagger, he has a Taurus ascendant. This is based on his birth of time, but incidentally, his moon is in Taurus, so he has a moon in the 1st house anyway. But this puts his natal Mars in Aries in the 12th house. And what's happening is the planetary configuration of transiting Mars, Rahu, and Saturn are opposing his natal Mars. Now, Mars rules the 7th house of partnerships and serious relationships or marriage. So these three malefics aspecting Mars in the 12th house, his natal Mars, causes this dire event. But to be exact, during this time, transiting Mars was around 1 degrees of Libra. And transiting Mars has special aspects besides the conjunction and the opposition, and they are 4 and 8. So if you count 4 houses from where Mars is transiting and 8 houses from where Mars is transiting, this is where it gives its full-bodied aspect. And the 8th aspect does denote death in many respects. So transiting Mars is aspecting Mick Jagger's natal moon, which is at 0 degrees of Taurus, and this causes this horrendous blow to his emotions and loss, and the fact that these 3 planets are also aspecting his natal Mars in Aries, which is ruler of relationships, the house of relationships for him. So that wraps up pretty much the gist of what I wanted to say concerning this tragic and terrible event concerning these 2 very, very famous individuals.
Thanks so much, Joni. It is a tragedy indeed. Such a brilliant talent Loren Scott was, and it is always so sad when events like this happen. Thank you for looking into their charts and giving us this insight today.
Thank you.
And if you would like more information about any of our videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have lots of videos that I know that you'll find a lot of insight from. Our channel is Get Astrologic Now. You can also go to our website, getastrologicnow.com, for a lot of information and articles by Joni and myself. And if you are interested in booking a private reading with Joni, go to galacticcenter.org, and you will have more information and insight than you can possibly imagine. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.